Okay, so I think Jolie's question was really good, and even though the NSA is trying to get us, the so I I don't know what AAUW National is doing, but like my other job is doing DEI work explicitly, and so I have been talking to like the media about it because I think the media reporting, the reporters themselves who are reporting on it, I think also don't have a good sense of what's actually going on internally because two reasons. One, some organizations don't want you to know that they're doing the DEI work because they've already been targeted for doing the DEI work. And so there's some like organizations that are precarious and that won't continue to exist if they don't have government contracts or, and so they make, and this is not ideal in any way, but they might make very public pronouncements against it and then like just really go underground and maybe they don't want you to know, right? I think other organizations that are in a position that they don't have to worry about that or don't or are ready to take on the fight are being very public and publicly keeping it. But there are lots of different reasons that they might be keeping it or not keeping it. And so I've seen a couple sources. So one of the sources I know that if you do like keeping that in mind though, right? But if you do want the list of those who have made public pronouncements for and against, one of the places that's starting to create that list is I listen to some alternative media. One is called the Daily Beans podcast, and the people that run the Daily Beans podcast are putting together that list or starting to put together that list. I don't, I will see if I find other lists and I'm happy to share them out, but I would keep in mind that like of the clients we currently have, they are 50-50 on going underground or going public. And the ones that are going underground are asking us explicitly to help them keep their DEI program without losing their business. So, you know, Julie, does that answer your question? Okay. And I've been,
And it makes sense. We wouldn't want to do anything to harm those who are doing well, or doing well for us. So yeah.
yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, even I have a friend that work is it past tense now for USAID worked and so he's trying to transition to another major company Booz Allen Hamilton and Booz Allen Ted does a lot of like like federal contracting work and I know for a fact that they've changed their DEI program to community, right? So I would look for like the word belonging for yourself. I would look for the word belonging. I would look for the word culture. I would look for the word community because, I mean, the problem with Trump's EOs is that because it's overly broad, he could target anything. But historically in business management, which again, like if he read his textbooks at Wharton, he would know that there is actually a history of talking about culture and organizational culture in business management that's going to be a lot harder to attack as explicitly DEI. So
Yeah.
it's probably a smart move to move it
Yeah.
to culture or community.
I mean,
It's like coming up with our own
like,
dog whistles, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. It is. And this is what happened in this is what happened in the 80s. The whole idea of DEI comes from the history of legal attacks on affirmative action, right? So
yeah.
all the legal attacks on affirmative action ended up producing diversity management as a field, which is what DEI actually is, it's diversity management. And diversity management allied themselves with businesses and made a business case for diversity and inclusion so that there was an ally, there was a coalition building done there so that if the federal government or there weren't legal protections, that you could make a business case for actually having inclusion in particular with the knowledge that the world is already diverse and your businesses and organizations aren't going to function if people can't speak across difference, right? So I think every time this happens, there needs to be a pivot, but people have been pivoting for a long time, and I feel very confident that, you know, we'll weather it. It's just, how are we going to negotiate it? So, Sina?
Yeah.
then I'm wondering and questioning this, the local group that I'm dealing with, the resistors, we're getting T-shirts made and wearing it to places like Costco, where of course they're keeping their DEI program. My question to you, therefore, are we actually going to end up hurting them because we're in a very conservative area?
Calling them out, yeah.
Yeah, and so is that going to end up, not doing the right thing for Costco? Should we not do this? We were
No,
going to
no,
go
no.
in with the T-shirts and thank the management and
Mhm.
have a whole bunch of us ladies wearing these T-shirts, that kind of thing.
I think if they're making public pronouncements that they've already done a risk assessment and they've decided they can be out front. Like I said, our clients are 50-50. Like we have one company that's international that we work with, and we sat down and had a conversation with them, and we were like, they're like, okay, are you pivoting? Do you want to call it something else? What do you want to do? How can we help you? And they were like, nope, we're leaning in. They were like, nope, nope, we're not changing anything.
Okay.
And so I think, and they're very public about it. They haven't wiped any of their public DEI stuff. So if a company is already like out front with it, you're not, no, you're not going to hurt them. But like if you show up and like support them, like hopefully they
Yes.
can build a coalition with other companies that they too can come out front, right? And
Right.
lead with DEI. But some of the mid-sized companies we work with are smaller companies, like they just can't afford it. Like can't,
Understand.
yeah,
Okay, thanks.
no problem. Myra?
Yeah, I had one question about, you said USA ID has changed to what company?
Oh, no, it hasn't. No, no, no. I just have a friend that worked for USAID that um still kind of works for them. I don't know if he's been formally axed yet, but he's going to probably go work for Booz Allen Hamilton instead. Um, which, is a historically a contractor that does some of that work.
Could you
Um,
spell that, please?
oh,
Is it like
that's my worst subject,
Okay.
Myra. Spelling. I think it's Booz. I don't know if it has an E after it because I want to say that because it's like boozy, right? But I think it's Booz Allen, Allen, and then Hamilton, Hamilton.
Oh, thank you so
I
much.
put it in the chat, Missy.
Oh, perfect. It doesn't have an E, right?
It does.
Down,
I
It
don't think
does?
it does.
down.
I think it does.
Come on, it doesn't matter.
No. Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is their audio on and we're hearing background noise? Maybe you could turn it off.
All right. Okay. So I figured this would be a place that we could have a conversation. So, we already know what's being targeted, right? There's a lot of things being targeted, but sex, gender, sexuality is the most targeted, which is something that is like clearly, right, central to our public policy priorities, and citizenship status, right? And historically and in the present, those two things seem like they're different, but they're not, right? Because historically, ideals of citizenship are gendered, right? And so when we attack citizenship status, we are attacking gender historically and in the present. So, as Amy and I are trying and, you know, as we're trying to figure out the kind of action items and the directions that we're going in, when we're thinking about citizenship status and immigration, it's going to be coming from that kind of historical perspective that is very hard to divorce from ideas about gender and ideas about race. So those are the two things targeted. They impact our PPPs. And I did give you a little bit on how DEI is part of, right? DEI is part of diversity management. I gave you that at the beginning. So DEI, right? Clearly, as we're establishing more and more, right, it drives our public policy priorities. And so this attack is also an attack on us. As the last PP News, I gave you some DEI resources. If you want more on just like the way that DEI is defined in diversity management, I have a ton of free resources through my business. I'm happy to share them. And like, just tell me what you need in terms of understanding these executive orders and how they're being instituted. And I will do my best because I'm explaining this to lots of people every day, and I'm happy to share that with you and answer questions. Any other questions at the moment?
Yes, Missy, I think my concern, and I think it's going to be a concern throughout the state, is going to be with local scholarships and branches that are dealing with universities
Mm-hmm.
and all of the stuff that they're pushing back on, because so many of our local scholarships are purposely aimed at women. And so there's going to be, has to be a discussion at the state level about what we're going to do.
Yep.
And probably at the national level.
Yeah, we already we initiated that discussion at the state level, so we're already thinking about guidance for the branches on
Thank
how
you.
to restructure and rename, especially given the attacks on Title IX and sex, gender, sexuality. So we started that discussion before the last, is it like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I don't know what is time anymore. But we started that discussion before, and that's on our list, is making sure that you all have guidance on to how to move forward with local scholarships. And get creative, just like the businesses, on how you're advertising them so that they still get where they need to go, without actually, right, saying anything that would get the university to take you out of their systems.
Get their knickers in a knot.
Yep.
Thank you, Missy.
You're welcome. Anything else at the moment? If you come up with anything after the meeting, send us an email, and we'll do our best to address. Amy is amazing. I'm juggling a whole bunch of things right now, and Amy is just, if you ever don't get an email back, you can blame me. It's my fault, because Amy is the person that makes sure that you get the most consistent and timely correspondence. So I just want to also say thank you to Amy for like always making sure that she keeps me on task so that we get things out to you more efficiently too. Right? But give us some grace, because we are also juggling a whole bunch right now. Okay. So maybe let's talk about taking action to fight Project 2025. So we started something in the newsletter. If you haven't seen the latest newsletter, because there's just a fire hose of information, and this whole thing is designed to make you feel overwhelmed and scared, and then to like go in a hole and not act, right? We thought that it would be good to just give you a short list, right, of things that you can do, right? We're going to give you a long list, but we're going to give you a targeted short list of action items every time we send out PP news, right? So we'll give you something that's focused on yourself, right? Education, something that's focused on others outward, right? Connecting with others, or educating others, and then something that's politically focused. And we'll give you a couple options and then just pick one, so that at least you have like 3 tangible things that you can do. This too came out of this meeting from the last time we met, because I know that a lot of you are also feeling a little frustrated with, only having activities that were like structured in one way. So this is kind of how we're thinking about this as moving forward, that you're always going to get 1 to 2 options in each of those categories each month, that if nothing else, right, focus on those. And, so this was our inaugural, and I hope that this is useful for you, but this is one way that we're going to try to start giving you some monthly action items to fight back against Project 2025. We also recommended in this one that if you didn't go to the webinar in October, that we linked it here to kind of rewatch it. to just think about the different ways that Project 2025 specifically impacts our own public policy priorities here in California. So the other thing that we're going to do, and is this is in development as we started talking about it in the last meeting. So we gave you the 3 targeted ones. If you're like, I've done my basic homework and I would like to do more homework. Okay. We are putting together a tracker, right? So like, this is going to have 3 sections organized by issue areas. One is a running list of legal actions by organization that are where you see kind of a legal pushback by organizations on the issue areas that we care about. We decided to start with that because it's nice to see that someone is doing something, right? We also have, we're going to put together a running list of successful collective action campaigns. So I have the screenshots at the top of this slide. They are small. When you get them, you will be able to see them more clearly. But one of those is something that I hadn't seen reported on, but I did see it in NPR this morning. And that is the covering, right, of the pictures in that museum, responding to the DEI, right, to the anti-DEI everything. This is the National Security Agency veterans in the National Cryptologic Museum, right? So they covered up photos of women in American cryptology with brown paper because they were seen as, yes, Susan, only white men were able to be shown. So anybody else that was featured in this museum was to be covered with brown paper because it was a problem, because that somehow was violating Trump's executive orders. So,
God.
but what happened, right? What happened is that a whole group of employees at the museum and a lot of public pushback together made this very public, and they were successful in getting the agency to relent and taking all of the brown paper down. Okay. So this is one of the things that would be on a running list of successful collective action campaigns, both to think about the pushback that's successful and how it's being done, so that we can think about, one, we can be encouraged by successful pushback, and 2, we can think about how we structure our own forms of pushback and resistance in ways that might be successful. The other thing that's up here on the right is I think I saw reporting on this finally, but I follow Jessica Valenti. She's a gender activist and an academic, but she noticed that all of the domestic violence information about intimate partner violence, information about reproductive care was being taken down from the CDC. So it was all being wiped from the CDC websites, all of the public facing information. If you go there now, it's no longer available, but because activists noticed that it was being taken down, they were able to download it all and then re-upload it on another site. So it's still available for the public. And so we're going to put that on something else that I would consider a successful collective action campaign, because even though the CDC has removed it, a bunch of people working together were able to to save it and to repost it in another place for public access and public consumption. So it's scary, right? But it's also good to see so many people working together to make things a little better. And so that's what would be the kinds of things under section 2. Section 3 will be a running list of action resources. So any ongoing actions that we have under a topic area, we'll post there for you. And Milena is going to help us spearhead this project because I think I'm very excited to have her work with us on this because I think this will be a really great resource. But this is in development. We are trying to get this up and running for you. And this is one thing that we want to do to make sure that we have all of these things in one place and that you can use your checklist for action items or you can come here and hopefully build coalition and engage in actions that you find meaningful under a topic area that is of, greatest interest to you. Every little thing that we do,
I'm on a Zoom.
right, together, we can't attack all of these things individually at the same time. So I also want you to see that people are working in these different areas, and like part of feeling overwhelmed is feeling like you have to be the person that's working in all these areas, right? So don't feel like you need to do everything. You are one part of a larger coalition, and hopefully this is helpful. Let me see. I'm looking at the chat. Right. Rhonda, go ahead. Rhonda, you have your hand up?
Rhonda, come on, Rhonda.
We'll circle back. Let's do the next slide. And I don't know if Susan wants to talk about this because this is Susan's branch. Yes.
Sure.
And
Can you
I
hear
just
me?
wanted to, yeah, and I
What?
just wanted to give a little intro because, I know that a lot of people are really itching for ideas of things that they can do to take action. So in that same vein, Susan Carlins, who is one of the members of our public policy committee, is also the branch public policy chair for the San Jose branch. And she is doing some great work leading her branch in some acts of activism. So, Susan, if you could tell us kind of what you're working on and where you got these ideas and how you're putting them into action, that would be great.
Sure. I have to say first that I'm co-chair with Elaine Peterson and Peg Carlson Bowen. I couldn't do this all myself. So I really appreciate them. So I may be no different than any of you. You guys are all doing things. I just happened to CC Amy because she's in a neighboring branch. And I thought, oh, maybe they want to do some of these things with us. And I don't have time to reach out in a really polite, polished way and invite her. So I'll just copy her and see if she's interested. So I joined Indivisible about the same time I joined AAUW back in 2016 or 2017. So I'm in a couple of Indivisible groups and South Bay Swing Left. I'm not a leader in any of these groups because that's what I do at AAUW, but I learn a lot about what's going on and follow them on social media and am on their mailing list. So, the last couple of weeks, I was basically under a rock and I'd stick my head out like 15 minutes a day to read the news. And then I'd quick crawl back to protect myself from the vicious onslaught, because it didn't seem like there was any organized resistance. It's like, okay, if there's nothing to do, I really don't want to know this. But then it did seem like there was. So as soon as I heard that, I thought about, okay, what can we join as a nonprofit? Our branch actually is a 401c4, not a 401c3. So we feel fine taking, strong stands on issues. Just not like partisan Democrat versus Republican. So the first thing was actually on last Saturday, our Congress members had organized a press conference at the Mexican Heritage Plaza. And I just thought, oh, people are just itching to do something. So I didn't even know about it. I mean, I didn't even know about it and know that my husband could take over my errand that I had to do till like the night before. But I still, we had 6 of us going, including Elaine, who's I think on this call. And she's also, actually, both my co-chairs are in Indivisibles as well. So we got a group to go. You know, it's a little frustrating for some people because the press conference was really to get attention to some of the problems rather than hear from any of us. But I'm like, well, we'll figure it out. Let's go home and figure it out. So then when we heard that people were getting together, well, first we got people calling Padilla and Schiff's office and our Congress member's office. And so then when we saw there were actions in San Francisco, which I heard were very, very heartening, I was not able to go. And I haven't heard from anyone who was up there from our branch, but hundreds of people were up there. And it was a very, very positive experience to be at those Senate offices. Also, we've been calling our representatives about the takeover of OMB and the 5 Calls app. Has anybody heard of that 5 Calls app? It's easy to find at your app store, whatever kind of phone you have. It gives you scripts. It tells you who to call about what issues. You just can pick whatever. You don't have to tell them you called. I just look at all the issues. I call the senator and say, okay, I've got 3 things to say to you, you know, and I give them 1 sentence about each. I'm not going to call back 3 times. We really know it makes a huge difference. A lot of people called and it made a huge difference. So because 5 Calls is a 401c4 like us, happy to promote it. And then I also found out on the weekend from my daughter, who's an OBGYN resident, that when they went to the CDC site on contraception, it wasn't there anymore because I guess women are not part of America anymore. You know, it's inconceivable. Anyway, so then when I heard in one of the other mailings that a Stanford professor had asked people to call, I put that together and asked people to do that too. So really just a lot of ad hoc, see what's going on, see what people want to do. Questions? Anyone else doing this or want to, or?
Susan, this is Jean Reed. What I hear you saying is that you're paying attention to what other groups that are further along in organization are doing, and you're emulating what they've done.
Yes, if I prepared a presentation, Jean, I would have said that. That's excellent. Excellent rephrasing.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm doing.
We're all being inundated with things we can do, and the idea of picking up what someone else is doing is certainly the way we can be most effective. And I do like what you've suggested for AEW California of having a short list, because the long lists are not motivating. You need something you
mean a long list of things to do. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
it needs to be a short list.
There was a couple of emails I got about what to say to your senator, and people sent them to me like, oh, let's, do this. And I hadn't even seen them, but I made it as simple as possible, as empowering as possible, as positive as possible, because people need that desperately. And then at the end, I said, don't be nervous, because if you sound awkward, it just makes you sound like a human being, not like a bot or a lobbyist. So don't worry about sounding awkward when you're giving the message.
What is this now?
Hi, Susan.
Yes, Joy.
Thanks for everything you're doing. I was on that Indivisible call on Sunday also.
Yes.
And heard from them and the Working Families Party and MoveOn.org. And I put out a weekly newsletter for Fallbrook people that I put the information about that in. And yesterday there was a small group of people that came out just outside of Camp Pendleton, Fallbrook residents, and put on a little protest. It was our local Indivisible group that promoted that at the last minute to join with the other groups that were doing it, the 50-51 coalition. So yeah, I like the idea of just giving people a small number of things to do also. So we're having our branch meeting on Tuesday, or I mean on Saturday. And so when they ask, do I have anything to bring up, I can bring up some of these suggestions of things that people can do, like the 5 Calls app. It's a good idea.
That's
Thanks.
great. Really nice to hear that, Joy. Thanks for sharing.
Wonderful.
We
Thank you
have
so much,
t-shirts
Susan.
from the school board project, so we wear those sometimes. So we have a presence.
Yeah.
I have
Awesome.
a quick question for Susan about I live in San Jose and I'm a member of the Los Gatos Saratoga branch, and I'd like to get connected with you to help you.
Okay, who's talking? I can't quite see.
Myra Sternlieb. I don't know why my face isn't there, but
Well, okay. So, Myra, you can email me. I'm Susan Carlins, and my email is susan.carlins@gmail.com. And, maybe you want to join our branch too, or just, we could,
Yeah, well,
invite you
let's-
to do some things with us, whatever
Yeah.
works for you.
very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any interest with those people among taking action?
I believe so, and well, we can talk because
Okay, sounds
I
good.
just joined because I've never done it in my 80 years of life, so I
Okay,
thought it was time to get busy, but I'll
Great.
get a hold of you. Yeah.
okay.
Christina?
Hi, yeah, so I'm from SLO County, and Tuscadero is my branch. And what I guess I'm curious about is we're a 501c3 organization, and so I guess I would like to be able to see if there's a way to be offered a list like this that would be more comfortable for people from organizations like ours that are 501c3s, because I know there are a number of people on our board who are concerned about sticking their neck out too far in regards to this type of advocacy. So, and kind of what could be done with 501c3s versus 501c4s with this, and then also other things. Like I know we're really interested in working on the school board project, and there's a lot of concern about what we can do and what others can do.
So Christina, that's a whole class that a lawyer, not me, should teach. But in essence, this is how I think about it. Anyone, 501c3 or 4, the Project 2025 is against all AAUW policy priorities and values. So you can always encourage people to call their electeds and give their opinion about this. And our electeds really need our opinions on these things. They get nervous and they need us. So have them, that's something you can do. People could be calling every day, and that makes a huge difference. They
Yeah.
can also go to their school board meetings and talk about AAUW values and how a couple of pieces of California legislation very effectively address some issues in schools. Again, if you email me, I just adapted the AAUW California one, which probably Kathy brilliantly came up with originally. I just made it work for schools that weren't problematic. Just we want to encourage you to do the right thing. So if you want to see that script, happy to share it.
Yeah,
So
and
those are
also-
2 things everyone can do.
Yep, and
Yeah.
I'll second that and say that, and Amy's going to talk a little bit about that, and we got 6 minutes, we're good. In school board, and but that's why we frame what we're doing as anti-project 2025, because if it aligns with our public policy priorities, then you don't have to worry about your nonprofit status, because you are able to help us speak out, and even we advance legislation right in the state of California that is in line with our public policy priorities. So as long as you stick with public policy priorities and anti-project 2025, then you can take action.
And if you want for yourself to keep updated on things, this will be more like Democrat oriented, but the Chop Wood Carry Water podcast app, whatever, Jessica Craven is very practical and gives you every day. She tells you what to call your senators about as well and what to call your congress member about.
Perfect, great.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Dina?
Yes, hi. Two things I'm concerned about. Number one is that because of so many things on the national level, which is driving us absolutely crazy and concerned and whatever, that the local level is going to be hard to focus people on. That's number one. With the school board project, in other words, they're looking more at, what is national doing, and I mean, not, what is the government doing and all of the things that are happening there. But at the same time, the connection is strong because on local school boards now, you have an affirmation by the President of the United States to drop slavery from the curriculum. Don't bother with the Constitution. Whatever it is, and again, I have a 4-1 majority of religious extremists on the board where I live. And so what's happening is, and this is my concern, is that there is going to be that connection where they're going to be looking more and more at curriculum and saying, well, this is what the federal government wants, even though it's a state public school system, we know that. But they're going to use that as a validation of attacking curriculum, which is already being, happening because teachers are very fearful of losing their jobs or getting sued. We have a couple of cases going on that. So it's that issue where we're not focusing, we're focusing on the national and what's happening with Trump and all of that, especially if our cabinet position disappears on education, but also how that's going to validate for the religious right on all the school boards that this is fine. This is what is legally just. This is what our president is saying. So that's
Yeah.
what I have to say.
And I don't know, Amy, if you want to skip to the school board project too and talk a little bit about, like, you and Sina can talk a little bit about this too. And so part of the next step is going to be training folks in how to talk about what's happening at the local level in terms of the school boards, so that we can have the trickle down of kind of the national pronouncements and think about what people need to be doing at the local level at the school boards, if that's something that you want to do, which we highly recommend. This is a fantastic project because we do have California legislation that is counter to the pronouncements in the executive orders. And we still do have the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which still exists in spite of the executive orders and the pronouncements that are being made. So I think this is a really good time to, think about how we're training. And this is wonderful that this is this confluence of working with the Public School Defenders Hub to make sure that we have a training that works for our members in the state of California, to make sure that you are equipped to go in and monitor what's happening in your school boards. But I will turn it over to Sina and Amy to give you more because they know more. So take it away.
Yeah, so the school board project is now entering the third phase. The first phase was encouraging members to just attend their school board meetings. Second phase was having members get engaged in their local district races. Now we're entering the third phase where we are going to be training our members so that they can go out and monitor and observe those school board meetings and make sure that they are adhering to California law. So we've been working together with the Public School Defenders Hub to put together a customized training program for our members. And that training is going to take place tentatively on the evening of May 15th. So mark your calendars, pencil it in. It is a tentative date, but that will then be an opportunity for us to all learn how to go out to these school board meetings and watch what's going on, flag things if people are not adhering to California law, and then we will be trained on what to do with that information and where to go and report it. So there was a survey that came out. You all should have received it in your inbox yesterday or the day before. If you could please take a couple of minutes to fill out that survey. It's really important for us to know what is going on currently in your school districts so that we can really understand the lay of the land and customize this training program to meet the needs of our membership. Any questions on the school board project? Sina, anything you want to add to this?
No, I think, yes, that having, you know, that survey done, I did mine already. And also, I think, you know, I'm glad that we're now having the customize. That was really critically important because the initial one, and the group may not realize it, but the initial one was so technical and so filled with things that it just couldn't, it has to adhere to, you know, it has to fit our needs. And yeah, I'm really pleased that we're going to have that in May.
Joy?
Yes, I got a question on the survey. My co-chair asked me, who do you want to fill out the survey? Is that supposed to go? Mhm.
Yeah, every member in California got the survey, so we would like everybody to fill it out.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions on this one, we are past time. So let me quickly cover a couple of important things. Lobby Days is coming up in April. We're going to have an in-person set of meetings at the Capitol in Sacramento on April 8th. And people, you know, we would love for people to come to the Capitol and you know, lobby in person. If you're not able to come to the Capitol, we're going to have virtual meetings set up on April 9th. So hope everybody here on this call will be able to participate. And if you would like to register, we ask that you fill out the registration form as well as sign up for the mandatory training, which is going to take place on March 31st. So there's actually 2 different things that you need to register for. Any questions on Lobby Days? Okay. And finally, updates from National. We had a meeting, National had their meeting yesterday with the state public policy chairs. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of update because I think National, like all the rest of us, are reeling from the daily barrage of everything. And I think they're trying to kind of get their footing and figure out exactly where to focus their energy. So it was kind of some very high level updates that we got. As a word of encouragement for everybody, like Missy mentioned earlier, executive orders are not able to change existing law and they can't change or overturn court precedent. They're basically just being thrown out here to sow confusion and chaos. So the court, a lot of these executive orders are going to end up in lawsuits in the courts, but that is a process that's slow and is going to take time. So I think we just need to kind of like buckle up, and it will get there, and it will get heard in the courts. The Department of Education cannot be dismantled by executive orders. However, it can get defunded. So National asks all of us to have our voices heard with our representatives and our senators, call on them to use the appropriations process to make sure that the Department of Education cannot get defunded. Title IX, as I think you all know, the Title IX new Biden rules have been turned backwards. So now the Title IX rules that are in effect are the 2020 DeVos rules. This is really unfortunate, and there are people that are going to be hurt as a result of this. There's a resource here from the National Women's Law Center about what schools can do to effectively address sexual harassment now that we're living under the DeVos rules. And finally, there's an updated resource here on pay equity. which is an important AAUW priority. But in light of everything else that's going on, it's a lot to think about.
And
Any questions on these?
let me just add one thing too, just based on the discussion. Sorry, Amy, I forgot to add it in the other section, and that is during the call with National, there was also a lot of discussion of trans rights, and so if you get the news from National, they're like, I don't know how far it goes out, but you know, Amy and I have had a resource for how to answer questions about trans rights, trans women's participation in athletics. And so now that we have a team of wonderful interns to help out, we're finally going to be able to develop that resource. So if there are questions that you consistently are getting and don't quite know how to answer, then please send us a message to the public policy email and let us know, because we would like to add it to the list of questions that we can then provide kind of answers, a guide for you to both like learn more and to know how to answer those questions in a way that is both useful and that can start to kind of reach across difference, because that's a difficult conversation. Last thing, Kathy had a question in the chat. And the question was, can we promote church-sponsored support for immigrants through rapid response teams? And I will say, so let me like quadruple check before I say yes, of course. But the support really, I'll just say again, if we are taking action that is aligned with our public policy priorities, then you are safe to take certain actions, right? And I don't know of any issues with 501c3 supporting religious institutions. Let me triple check to make sure that that is the case, but that shouldn't be an issue. Maybe Amy and I can double check on that and send it out as a definitive, because I don't want to tell you to do something that without triple checking. But that's my understanding of 501c3 ability. So any other questions or comments? Thank you for staying on for an extra 7 minutes, everyone. That was a lot.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for a
Missy and
great
Amy.
and informative hour.
We're actually a C4.
Oh, you're a C4? Oh, you should be double fine then.
Okay.
But Kathy, let me I want to do due diligence and double check on that before I tell you yes. But my understanding of the rules is that religious institutions, especially under this administration, should not be a problem at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a question here from Laura about when we will learn about the 3 bills for Lobby Day. So our committee is getting together to finalize the ledge agenda and what bills we're going to be promoting on March 15th and 16th. So our goal is to be able to post about the 3 Lobby Day bills around the 20th or 21st of March on the website. And then we are going to have the training session that's scheduled for March 31st. But the bill information and talking points should be available maybe a week before that.
Yep.
Laura, does that answer your question?
And Nancy has a question.
Yes, I'm having trouble. Oops. All right. Yes, I saw in the chat, somebody said something about they had to scape their website to keep nonprofit funds. Can you see that in the chat? I'm
I
wondering,
think
what
probably
does
meant
that mean?
Great.
probably scrape.
But why? Does anybody know what that means? What they're talking about?
I don't know what the ongoing conversation was, but it's probably in reference to like scraping certain kinds of information or data off of the website and able to keep their nonprofit status. So I think that I'm guessing that was, but I don't know if Christina's here and can speak to it, but that is my guess as to what the reference was.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? when is the next time that we will be seeing each other? You will see us via email. Too much, don't worry. But the next time that we will hold one of these meetings is Thursday, April 3rd at 3 p.m. Same Zoom time, same Zoom channel, and we will see you then. And until then, I hope that you all take care of yourselves, and I wish you all of the luck in all of the activist work. I'm very happy to be in solidarity with all of you doing this work. We are here to support, so just reach out if you need anything, and we'll do our best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.